In one of my notes, I wrote, "Okay, horny nuns, I get it." And then about 20 lines later, I wrote, "Okay, horny nuns, I don't get it." It's like,
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
okay, we're here. How's it going, Jamie?
We are here, Sam. It's going really well. How's it going your end?
Do you know what? Fucking fantastic, Jamie. Doing great.
Good. Good to know. It's December. Is your tree up?
No, absolutely not. It's not. No, I think my tree goes up first week of December, so I have a good sort of a little bit of time to play with there. Or although I am on tour, so I'm gonna have to sort my tree out before I leave. I think. What about you? Is your tree up?
I mean, it's up as of this episode airing.
Okay.
So this episode's going to come out on the 13th of December or something.
Oh yeah, my tree's up. Yeah, my tree's up. Yep.
So I had to negotiate with Kaz. She wanted to put the tree up middle of November, and I was like, absolutely not.
No.
I said the 15th of December. She also said no to that, and we've settled on the 1st of December.
That's very good compromise. I think no one could ever accuse you or me of being hardline, masculine, patriarchal dudes, and I feel like
I think they probably could.
they could fucking try. I mean, go for it. Spend 20 minutes with me in my home, and you'll soon see that it's not the case. But when you put the tree up, it's important, right? It dictates the spirit of the season. It goes up too early, you fucked
Yeah.
It goes up too late, it's a shambles. Like, you got to get it right. I think the 1st of December is totally reasonable.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, if it was up to me, I wouldn't have a tree at all. So,
Oof. So you're making a massive compromise.
absolutely.
You have a real tree?
No, it's a plastic
Right.
fella, like a 7-foot plastic fucker.
Oh, you got those high ceilings. Little flex there, Jamie. Little.
Well,
We got
you
room
know,
for a 7-footer. No big deal.
Yeah, it goes at the bottom of the twin staircase. You know.
Of course it does. Doesn't interfere with the chandelier. It's actually
Yeah.
offsets that rather nicely.
It's so funny at Christmas when you see like quote unquote working class people heading back to their family homes for Christmas, and it's big staircases, chandeliers.
When they're driving home for Christmas.
Yeah, big glass of Pimm's with mummy. You know.
Oh God, Pimm's at Christmas? No.
I don't know what
nouveau riche bullshit. No, thank you.
I don't know what posh people drink, so that was it for me.
What do you drink at Christmas? What the fuck are we talking about Christmas for?
Because it's December, Sam.
Okay, what's your go-to at Christmas, Jamie? What's your beverage of choice?
Well, since celebrating November the 13th over on the Patreon with you, I now exclusively exist on a diet of pre-nog.
5 a day.
Yeah. But I don't know, beer.
Yeah.
I'm quite partial to a Bucks Fizz on Christmas morn.
Very nice. Do you make your own, or do you get a bottle of Bucks Fizz? Do you do like an orange juice prosecco champagne thing, or do you buy the pre-nogged version?
I think we do a bit of both. Because you can get a bottle of Buccos for like 3-4 quid.
You could get a bottle of Bucks Fizz for 3 quid, and I think I could drink it in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just like jumbo Alco Pop. See ya.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave Christmas there, Sam. If you
Okay.
want more Christmas from us, you're going to have to subscribe to the Patreon, where in the coming weeks, we'll be sharing some of our Christmassiest things with you.
It's worth it even just for the one episode. If you're feeling Christmassy and you want to fucking knock the edge off with me and Jamie, come and have a pre-nog and let's talk all things Christmas.
All things Christmas. I mean, speaking of Christmas, what is more festive than our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, being fucked to death by a load of nuns?
There's a huge argument for this being a Christmas movie. Today, of course, fine friends and listeners, we are talking about the movie The Devils from 1971. And I hear tell on the grapevine, I hear whispers in the cloisters that this is one of your all-time favorite movies, Jamie.
Yeah, this is top 10 stuff. This is a real classic Jamie favorite.
Would you like to tell all our listeners exactly what's wrong with you?
I mean, both you and I, Sam, are a big fan of a witch hunt.
Absolutely.
We love to hunt those witches.
We love to be hunted by the witches. We love we love
Yeah.
everything witch hunt related.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is about as good a film about witch hunting that you're ever going to get.
It is also worth mentioning, like a full kind of early in the episode disclaimer, we also both love nuns. So
Yeah.
it's a lot for us to chew on in this little flick.
Yeah. I mean, I think this film might be instrumental in my nun love.
Mm.
I don't know how old I was when I first saw this. Probably too young to really appreciate what it was. But the visual of gaggles of masturbating nuns.
Is that the collective noun for a nun? Gaggle.
I think it just instilled upon me a very specific kink. Let's say kink.
Yeah, and I think that is, for a budding young religious kinkist, this has formative qualities. I think seeing it as an adult, it does nothing but cement my love of nuns. But I can imagine for you, it was significantly earlier in the process.
Yeah, it's got nuns.
It's got nuns,
and they do all kinds of ungodly stuff.
They really do. And let's fucking just dive right in and say this movie was banned for a really long time for really good reasons.
Yeah, well, it came out, but it was pretty heavily censored when it first came out. It was given a real short shrift by critics who didn't really get it.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty close to being considered sort of blasphemous. And you can see why, but I think the things that people found the most sort of blasphemous about it were the things that are kind of real.
Mm.
I mean, we can get a bit more into that in a little bit.
Mm.
Why don't you give us a little synopsis?
Holy fuck. I'm not going to do a good job of this because I didn't really know what was going on. But I know for a fact that this movie is set in France in the 17th century in a walled city called Loudun.
Loudun, yeah.
Loudun. You're going to hear some awful French pronunciation from me in this episode. I did GCSE German for the record. So Loudun has a very corrupt Cardinal Richelieu, who wants all kinds of things to happen in the city that are not in the best interests of the residents. And there is a priest in the city called Urbain Grandier, played by Oliver Reed, who takes a stand against this, and he takes quite a violent stand against this. And in the process of rebelling against his oppressors, he is accused of various crimes, not just against the cloth, but against humanity. And he is summarily punished in a pretty spectacular climax of the movie. And it involves enormous amounts of nun nudity. Those are my take homes, and that's my plot summary.
It's worth saying that Cardinal Richelieu is like trying to take over France as a whole rather than just Loudun, and is basically trying to destroy all of the walled cities or all of the places that self-govern in order to instill blanket law from the state. And obviously he's a cardinal, and so it's coming from a religious point of view.
Very important points, and that I missed in my summary. And the central conflict from really early on in the movie, as soon as we get our characters established and we're given little nuggets of plot, it's a real church and state deal. It's hammered into you very early on in the first couple of scenes that there is a pretty sickening melding of church and state happening before us, and that is not the MO of our quote unquote hero, Urbain Grandier, who wants that to not happen and is willing to sacrifice everything to stop it.
Yeah, so he's a Catholic priest.
Mm-hmm.
I guess a priest, are all priests Catholic? Is that what a Catholic is called if they're a priest?
I mean, more importantly, who fucking cares?
Well, I think the point I was making is that he is a
Catholic priest.
Yeah, he's happy to govern the Protestants, the people that aren't religious. He doesn't prescribe to the cardinal's view that the Protestants should be run from the land.
Mm-hmm.
He's happy for the people to be the people, and he'll govern them in any way that he sees fit, really.
He wants a more peaceful coexistence. He's not hung up on, religious dickering, because he's a pretty loosey-goosey guy in some areas.
Yeah.
He loves fucking his flock. He absolutely loves just general indulgences of the flesh. He's what you want to think of as like a cool priest. The fucking the guy that comes and plays guitar in your school. If it was Urbain Grandier, you'd be pretty pumped.
Yeah, or you'd be being pumped.
You'd either be pumped or be pumped.
Yeah. Let's take a little break and we'll come back and we'll get into The Devils proper, because I've got a lot of thoughts and feelings about this film, Sam, and I want to know exactly what you think.
Oh, good job. Let's fucking let's have a little nap.
Whoa, holy shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Sam. A little Robin told me that you've got something special out for Christmas. Is that true?
A little red-breasted, loose-lipped Robin has been talking to you.
Yeah. It flew in my window, landed on my shoulder, and said, Sam's released a special Christmas record, 7-inch, with some amazing artwork and 2 great songs on it.
That's good work from the Robin. Not paying that Robin enough. Yes, I put out a 7-inch this festive season. It's out on Red Scare Industries. It's called Mistletoe Pier, and it has 2 very Christmassy, holiday-themed festive jams for your listening pleasure. You can pick it up in the UK on my web store. You can pick it up from redscare.net. You can get it on Bandcamp for $2, and you can stream it everywhere you stream music.
It's really good. I recommend that you do it. I heard the songs back in, I don't know, was it like August or something when you first recorded them? And I was
recorded in June, sent them straight to you.
Yeah, and I was like, this is amazing. But now I can listen like all the plebs, and it just sounds even better. It's seasonally appropriate. It's wonderful. You'd probably still enjoy it in March, but get on it now.
I mean, the only thing that makes it a Christmas song is saying Christmas in the first line. The rest of it is just my usual, misery. So if you enjoy misery, get stuck in.
Is Mistletoe Pier a real place?
No, absolutely not. The songs were written and inspired by Chroma Pier, which is less romantic sounding.
Yeah, so it's a fiction. I've been lied to once again by fucking Sam Russo.
My gift to you this festive season, a whole pack of lies. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. And yeah, listen to it. It's really good. It's really, really good.
Thanks. And back to the show. So,
The Devils. So yeah, directed by Ken Russell, who is an incredible visual storyteller and an absolute fucking liability.
Yeah, couldn't have summarized it better myself. He's quite good at a lot of stuff and quite mental.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing a documentary years ago about this film with Mark Kermode on it, and I'm pretty sure that he just calls the censors cunts.
I saw something very similar. Kermode has a lot to say about this movie and is a pretty staunch advocate of, stripping away a lot of the censorship, releasing the original cut, and basically like any kind of public apology forever, like stuffing this in the no-no zone. So yeah, that seems to be a cause that he fights for. And yeah, I think a serious distaste for all censorship from Mr. Russell.
Yeah. So this film is based on a true story. There really was a witch trial in Loudun in the 17th century, and Father Grandier was burnt at the stake. There was a sort of a novelization, a sort of fictionalized account of it written by Aldous Huxley, which is what this film is mostly based on, with a lot of Ken Russell's feverish insanity spaffed throughout it.
I mean, I think a lot of the amazing dialogue comes from a literary angle, doesn't it? There's very little in this movie that is, earthy, gritty, and believable. It's got a real kind of magical realism edge to it, and the dialogue is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, my favorite piece of dialogue in the film.
Go on.
It's just such a little funny moment. It's so funny when he's just had sex with that courtier's daughter.
Yeah.
And they're lying there and they're just sort of chatting. And she's like, I'm pregnant. And he just sort of turns away and goes, and it is done. Like, okay, this is over now. See you later.
He just leaves. Yeah, what a buzzkill.
There's so much great dialogue, though. There's a man worth going to hell for.
Yeah, destroy me, I love you. Pretty great. I wrote down, take away my hump. That's a great line.
Yeah.
I really enjoy, even the most innocent lamb is destined for the lusty goat.
I feel like that might find its way in a little Sam Russo song.
I fucking hope so.
future.
I think one of my favorite line deliveries is the question, what form does this incubus take? And Vanessa Redgrave just screams cock. It's great.
Cock!
So many good lines. We need a professional witch hunter. You know, it really does fly from the utterly ridiculous to the, fucking memorably poetic. And yeah, obviously that's coming from a Huxley place.
Yeah, I think the stars really aligned on this. Like, you've got this sort of fictionalization by Aldous Huxley. You've got Ken Russell giving all of his insanity, like he always does. He never dials it back. He can't do that. You've got the production design by Derek Jarman, who obviously goes on to be a director very much in that Ken Russell space. Super queer, super feverish again. And then you've also got the DOP, David Watkin, who can only make incredibly sumptuous visual feast type movies. Some of my favorites of his. He was DOP on the Beatles movie Help, Chariots of Fire, Return to Oz, like films that just have...
Return to Oz is amazing.
Just like films that have a real strong sense of place despite being really fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Films that aren't like other films visually.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, Oz has that to the max. It doesn't feel like a real place, but it's totally real for the time that you're there. Like,
yeah,
that's perfect for a movie like that, and perfect for this. You're right. I think that's a collaboration that is born in, total fucking mad alchemy that creates a movie that could only exist in one possible timeline. Like, there's no alternative universe version of this movie. It just is what it is. And that is definitely part of the master artistry of it. Whether or not you enjoy this movie, whether or not you find it satisfying or entertaining, you can't fucking deny that it's a bit of a bloody masterpiece.
It definitely is. And like the way that it all just comes together, like the sets, it was all filmed on like the backlot at Pinewood,
which is nuts,
insane. Like some of the sets are so huge in scope. It looks like Metropolis, like Fritz Lang vibes, sort of super German expressionist stuff happening. Everything is in straight lines, but all the people are really sort of rounded and ugly to show how they don't really fit in the environment. It feels obviously really modern, even though it's obviously the 70s and the film takes place in the 1700s, in the 17th century.
But I find that so clever and so appealing because it's, nobody's making a deliberate effort to make a gritty medieval scene here that you believe is 100% what it was like to be alive in medieval France. They're saying, here's our fucking artistic version of it, and if you don't like it, fuck you, because it's beautiful.
I mean, it is beautiful. It's so beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
And there's so much insane, weird stuff that happens. Everything with the king is so odd.
Yeah. A very strange opening to a movie, for sure.
Yeah. The whole Venus coming out of the conch or whatever.
Yeah. All very bizarre. And yeah, you're right. Very mixed messages in those king scenes. I didn't really know what I was supposed to feel. I felt a little bit uneducated, like I was missing a key message from the period. But then as the movie progresses, you realize that's not it at all. It's just, fucking really artsy. And it's creating, rather than sending a codable message, it's just creating an atmosphere that's going to pop up and fuck with you later on. And I found that really quite fun to just go with the flow.
I don't know an awful lot about Louis XIV. Apart from the fact that he was a decadent king in the way that you sort of imagine French kings to be in this time period.
Is there anything more decadent than a French king?
Like literally, like with the white face and the mole on the top lip or whatever. Like that's just how I picture French kings, all of them. Who is it that plays Mozart in Amadeus? But like that sort of style of like super flamboyant. Obviously, Mozart isn't a French king, but you know what I mean.
He's a French king to us.
But yeah, like the scene where he's shooting people dressed as crows.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's for. Is it? I mean, I guess we're supposed to see that like what Cardinal Richelieu wants is like a return to religious insanity. Like he wants to put an end to all this sort of decadence and free thought. And obviously the king isn't interested in that because the king is a big screaming Blackadder style ponce.
Yeah. But he seems very removed from the debate almost. He's unaffected. He just sort of dips in to sort of revel in the chaos for a bit and then dips back out. And that's what I found slightly difficult in the movie, is just how much the chaos is embraced by almost everybody except Grandier.
Yeah.
Like it's bizarre to me that this is the outcome that they all wanted. It's very strange. But I guess, we're supposed to be capturing a moment in the plot, it's not like a microcosm of the society they want. It's just the necessary evil to get to where they want to be, which is probably a lot more rigidly controlled.
Yeah, well, I guess like everybody wants to get involved because it's fucking fun to watch a load of nuns writhing around on the floor. And so
it really is,
all the people that come to watch all of this insanity, they're there for the show. Like, I feel like this is a movie about rock stars, right? Like, Grandier is a rock star.
Right.
Father Barre is a rock star.
Yeah.
Like, he's even, like, shot like a rock star. He's got that long, scraggly hair. He's got, like, the John Lennon glasses.
Dude, the only thing that pulled me out of this movie was his look. He just looks like he's the only actor in the movie. Everyone else, I feel like looks totally legit. And he's fucking, that's amateur dramatics. He just didn't change his hair. He just... and tragic, right? Michael Gothard took his own life and had a very troubled career and troubled life and everything. And he is fucking great in this. But holy crap, get a wig on the guy. Like, he just looks like a fucking 70s beatnik. What is happening? Changes.
Well, that's the point, though, right? Like, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Have you seen, like, much else that he's been in? He was in Life Force, which is obviously great.
I've seen Life Force, but that's it. I think I checked the IMDb, and I think that's literally it.
He was in a version of Frankenstein that came out in the 90s with Randy Quaid as Frankenstein's monster.
Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my God, I'm looking at it right now. I'm watching that this Christmas.
Randy Quaid as Frankenstein's monster is so funny. He looks like Frasier. It's like...
Okay. Tell me nothing, because this is going on the fucking list. Holy crap. I can get away with it as a Christmas movie. Randy Quaid is a noted Christmas hero. So, I mean, cinematic hero. Obviously, he's a piece of shit, but... He's
Cousin Eddie. Like, he's the Christmassiest man alive.
Exactly. Shitter's full. More of that on our Patreon episode. Join us on Patreon for a mere not much money. Yeah, you're right. I mean, he's great, but and they are giving us a lot of coded messages with his appearance, and I get the rockstar thing completely. I think you're totally on something there.
The space that Oliver Reed takes up in this movie, like, have you ever watched, like, I don't know, old episodes of Parkinson or whatever where Oliver Reed is on?
I've watched loads of interviews with him over the years. Yeah,
he's an absolute fucking... liability is the only word, right?
He's a problem. Anywhere he goes, he is way less a guest or an interviewee than he is a problem for everybody there.
He's just a drunk shagger. Like, that's all he is. And like, he's a blowhard, he's a nightmare, he's a sex pest.
Yeah.
He's a raging alcoholic, but fucking hell, he is one hell of an actor.
I mean, the amount of shit that people put up with from him in their lives and in their professional careers, it does genuinely melt away when you see the final quarter to a third of this movie. It's like, holy fuck, that's why you were the way you were, because you could back it up. You're not Randy Quaid. You're not making everyone's life difficult. And then
he's fucking Randy, though, isn't he?
Well, yeah, lukewarm piss of a performance. You are fucking show-stopping. And he obviously knew it, That's how he got away with it. And, a guy who gets, like, bottled in the face and his career as a facial actor continues to just fucking go upwards from there. Like, absolutely incredible career, totally wild personal life, ridiculous tales of drunken debauchery and consumption. But at the end of the day, fucking hell, it's hard to even. There is literally nothing I would criticize about his performance in this movie, I think.
Like, you hear a lot of stories from sets, not necessarily this one, but sets with Oliver Reed on them, where they basically have to shoot all his shots by noon because he's pissed at that point.
He's too drunk by like fucking tea break. And he's just out drinking with all the fucking union guys. And then he's out drinking with anyone who just happens to walk on set. You know, just like randos, people on studio tours. You find him drinking in the back of a bus with a bunch of people who were just there to look around. Like, it's unbelievable.
Few British actors have the legend like Oliver Reed.
Yeah, there's a lot in that ballpark, but he, you know, as soon as you bring up that name, it's like, yeah, everyone else just kind of disappears. And, you know, whether you love or hate that, regardless, this performance is absolutely unfuckwithable.
Yeah. Other notable performances in this, obviously Vanessa Redgrave as Sister Jan.
Yeah, again, no notes. Holy crap. It's the best I've seen her do. Like, it's incredibly moving. You absolutely love her. You absolutely hate her. It's a rocket to the moon of a performance. Incredible.
So critics of the time hated it. They thought that she just wasn't doing anything, just sort of shrieking. Which, you know, she does a lot of shrieking.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot going on in, around, and between those shrieks.
Oh, it's so good. Nuns, humpbacks, I'll take anything, do you know?
I mean, her entrance is the most visually arresting, I think, moment in the movie, because we it's when we see this kind of white tile, black grout sort of nunnery that's half underground, and she emerges through this archway with her head tilted to one side, and you think, oh, that's low. And then she keeps her head tilted that way, and you realize that she's deformed. And just the way that she comes into the movie is so dripping with this like sexually charged menace in nun form that you're immediately just like devouring everything she's doing on screen with your eyes and ears. I wanted to know everything about her, including backstory. I would have taken like a massive waffly exposition ladled monologue just to get the scoop on this character. For me, she's more interesting than Grandier. I think she's the linchpin of the movie. She's the agent of chaos. She's this weird like devil angel combo. I don't know. I love everything about the performance. I'm probably saying nothing new there, but she's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? It's like strange and sensual and horrific and repressed and nightmarish. She's just doing everything.
I cannot tolerate a criticism of that performance. Like, I'm sorry, but if you reduce that to just shrieking, you're missing all the bits where she's drying Oliver Reed's feet with her hair one minute, and then she's crying, she's spitting in someone's face and calling them a whore. She's being like violated in front of a massive crowd of people by religious, like Orthodox religious psychopaths. She's responding to that with like catatonia. She's sort of semi-sequestering and imprisoning herself and then refusing to be imprisoned. And, you know, all of this she's doing with some of the classiest, perfectly pitched performance pieces I've seen in not just in a horror movie, but, you know, there's a big argument in itself that this isn't a horror movie or horror movie performances care. It's, you know, I don't see her doing better in her career than this. I think it's such a fucking showcase, like a tour de force of her range. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. The moment when you realize that something fucky is happening in this film is after everybody's all watching Grandier walk down the street or whatever. And she like calls down Sister Agnes and all the others to stop being so fucking horny.
Yeah.
And then just takes herself off to a little oubliette for a wank.
Wankliette. Yeah. You know immediately that you're going to be shown things and taken to places in this movie that would otherwise be totally behind closed doors, or that would just be hinted at with some shitty pulled punch cinematography. So you're in. Or I'm in anyway. I can't say if anyone else is in, but, you know, so far up until that point, we've seen like the maggotiest corpse in existence, which was phenomenal. We've seen sex, conflict, church and state. We're battered with all these themes immediately, and then we have masturbating nuns. Like, You want to talk about escalation? It's quick fire in the beginning of this movie, right?
Yeah, it is. And it never stops escalating, and it
Yeah.
never stops being super duper intense.
Yeah, it's a very steady boil to a borderline intolerably tense climax. I think in one of my notes I wrote, "Okay, horny nuns, I get it." And then about 20 lines later I wrote, "Okay, horny nuns, I don't get it." It's like really trying to figure out what was going on. We see some really good plague stuff too in terms of the more horrific aspects of this movie. Obviously, like every aspect of the thematic side of this film is horrific. If you care even slightly about religious zealotry, oppression, religious trauma, the wake of religious atrocities that we're all living in now and that are still happening in the world, it is straight up horror. But it's a really tense thrill ride too. What are the other sort of genre tropes in this movie that you would pick out as being useful to a viewer?
What, in a horror sense, or
just generally? Like it feels like it fits so neatly into medieval art horror for me, but there's so much more going on, right?
It's always hard to pin down a Ken Russell film as any one thing, because he was never interested in making a horror film or making a drama or a thriller or whatever. His films are just artistic expressions of absolute insanity.
Yeah, they're more like statement pieces than genre flicks,
Yeah, absolutely. I think my first Ken Russell film was Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was maybe 10.
Oof.
And my mum was a bit of a rock fan, so she had and would play the Who album Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I like this. And I think she made me just watch the film, and it's not appropriate for a child, obviously.
It really isn't, dude.
But once again, much like the masturbating nuns and Margaret in a bath of beans, that sticks in the psyche. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So now, sloshing nuns, anything else, that'll do.
That'll do. There's no way our friend of the pod, Danny Filth, has not seen and devoured this movie, by the way.
100%.
Yeah.
Danny, if you're listening, which I know you are, obviously.
Always listening. Hi, Danny.
Always listening. In between the walls.
Yeah, I mean, I once saw lesbian nuns masturbate with crucifixes on stage at a Cradle of Filth show, so I'm pretty sure he's seen it.
Yeah, well, obviously, nunsploitation becomes a big genre in the late 70s, mostly in Italy, because they'll do anything.
Yeah,
anything for a buck.
Is it true that anyone who participated in this movie, like especially top billed cast, directors, production staff, were threatened with imprisonment if they even went to Italy in the wake of this movie's release? I read that online.
I'm not sure how true that is. I've read that as well. But it's fucking fun, isn't it?
Yeah, obscenity charges for blasphemous cinema. Is there a higher honor? I don't know. I mean, it's incredible, right?
It's 1 degree away from Ruggero Deodato, isn't it? Being almost in prison for making
for actual
kind
murder.
of a Holocaust.
Yeah. Oh boy. I mean, I feel like while this movie lays out its stall pretty early visually in terms of messaging, in terms of the strength of performance and everything else, it does find a way to just constantly one-up itself and escalate and escalate and escalate. And that I find really impressive. I like that in a movie, generally speaking. But normally, I'm more a fan of a subtle escalation or a character-based build. Whereas with this, it's just... In many ways, this movie is reminiscent of street trash.
I'm sure that's exactly what Ken Russell was going for.
I mean, it just has I don't know if this is a cinematic technique for somebody who, was very nearly a film studies teacher. I think this is fucking blasphemous in and of itself. But the way that you escalate tension with, repeated revulsion and disgust and just, provoking those reactions in your audience, it must have a fucking name. And I bet it's probably like a masterstroke for a lot of directors to pull it off, but it's so effective in this film, right?
Yeah, it really is. I would disagree that the escalation isn't also character-based. There's a huge escalation in Grandier's character. Obviously, as the world around him gets more fucked, he becomes more religious, more pious. Like he starts to understand his faith because he's been forced into this role where he has to care for an entire town. Obviously, he was just the priest until the whatever they call the mayor dies of the plague, and then is forced to like take up that mantle. As he also meets a woman that he actually loves and realizes that, you know, fucking everyone that will come near him is maybe not a great idea. I don't really relate. But yeah, so then obviously he's sort of becoming more stable and more Christian and exuding more and more of these Christian values, while the Christians around him, the nuns and the people, the witch finders and everyone, are becoming more and more unhinged. It's like that juxtaposition is what drives that escalation in a really sort of nice, grounded way. Obviously, it's insane, and it ends with obviously the scene that's cut, or the culmination of that scene that's cut, where the nuns go absolutely bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have the same DVD as me, don't you? Like the BFI one.
Yeah, I think I do. And that scene is like commonly referred to as the rape of Christ scene, right?
Yeah. Did you watch the special features? That scene.
I didn't watch all of the special features, but I watched a critical summary of them that told you what got cut, and my fucking jaw was on the floor.
Yeah, so that rape of Christ scene
Yeah.
is insane. Obviously, it's the natural culmination of everything that's happening before it, and the way it's cut in the final film is a little bit different to how it would have been cut had it stayed in the film, because obviously the moment of like Grandier taking communion and blessing his wine and stuff comes slightly before that, but in the cut where that scene exists, it's intercut, so it's like Grandier is sat by a mountain blessing his bread, and then it cuts to loads of fucking nuns running wild, running amok.
Right.
Cuts back to him blessing his wine, holding his bread up and stuff, and they go and pull down the statue of Christ and start using the various extremities of it to make themselves come. While Father Mignon, who is meant to be the person that we believe is like the most pious person, climbs up a massive ladder and watches everyone while he wanks. Like under his robes. It's like...
That's what I mean, dude. Like, no stone unturned in terms of depravity in this movie.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested and glad to hear your read of that, because I didn't get that. Like, I missed a lot of Grandier's development, especially as like a first-time viewer, because he is absent for big chunks of the movie where I feel like he's fucking crucial. And that cut makes more sense to me. You know, that direct intercutting showing his like newfound or rediscovered piety next to everyone else's insane levels of public decadence. That makes more sense. But I just had a different read. I just saw him as quite unlikably hypocritical for a large chunk of the movie. And then I wasn't 100% sold on his love. How genuine his love was, but I didn't know how much of that relationship was, contrived or born out of guilt. I was sort of struggling a little bit with his motivation, generally speaking, and I don't like I want more of him in the movie, I think, and I want his character to carry a little bit more of a load in terms of the growth and the development of the really important plot points. But yeah, I like your read on it big time.
Unfortunately, he's given all of those loads out.
He has distributed some serious loads in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure if in previous watches, or just in general, really, whether that relationship that he builds and then he obviously marries this girl, whether that's like she's so religious that she won't have sex with him out of wedlock.
It's still also born out of his, fucking of his parishioners. Like, she comes for confession and he ends up fucking and marrying her. Like, I don't know, man. I think there's a lot you could say about the character. We could be here all day analyzing the character, but the bottom line for me is that I just don't see enough of him in the midsection of the movie to sort of contextualize what's going on around him, or to have him as like a linchpin for the chaos. The chaos feels over chaotic because it doesn't have a central character fighting or standing up against it for a chunk of time.
Well, I think his absence is a choice. The idea that all these stories are spreading about him while he's not there to defend himself is part of that melting pot of insane ideas and being able to metastasize as they do into him ultimately being unable to refute anything that anyone said because everything has a bullshit explanation by Father Barre.
Yeah, and he's not in a position to defend himself if he's not there. You're right.
Yeah. Like, I agree. I mean, I would obviously just love more Ollie Reed in this movie. I would love to see, I'd watch a prequel show of Father Grandier just, giving sermons and laying pipe.
Laying pipe. Yeah, it's just gluttonous on my part to just want more of him. It probably wouldn't work in the movie, but there were big chunks of the movie that felt quite dry, and he just brings it to life the second he steps on screen. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we get so much great dialogue when he's not around. These fucking absolute dumb shit, bumbling. I don't even know what they are. The two guys who do all the torturing, but also a lot of the medicine, and also a lot of the like autopsy type work, and those guys keep it silly. And there's a lot of lightness about their performance that fits perfectly with our sense of humor. I think, like the darkest shit possible. There's a great bit where those guys are examining the vomit of the nuns after making them vomit, and they're saying the things that they find in there. So they say that they think that the nuns have been eating babies because they find bits of baby in there. Then they find bits of men in there. Then they find semen, and then they find carrots. And it is just funny. Like, it's just a really good gag. And there's a lot of that. Nuns, wanking off candles, just like lots of slapstick sexual humor.
There's so much more of the candle wanking in the cut Rape of Christ scene.
I thought there might be. But there's so much that's really overtly pornographic and sexual as well. There's bits where he, I think it's Father Barre is just like putting 2 and 3 fingers in and out of a nun's mouth while she's writhing around on the floor. It's like straight up pornographic. And it knows exactly what it's doing to you when it's doing that. All these nuns are writhing around in a pit. We don't know if they're going to be executed. We don't know if they're going to be burnt alive. We don't know if there's going to be some sort of like fake exorcism that happens. All we know is that we're witnessing the like absolute debasement and complete downfall of their faith, basically.
Yeah. So people that would be nuns around this time, these kind of sort of closed convent nuns, were basically the dregs of society. They were like the most uneducated, the most unmarriable women in like that sort of society. But yeah, they would not be very intelligent. So, and they would also, I mean, it's shown in the film that they are basically horny for any man. That kind of rings true. And so they would be a bit more suggestible. They would be a bit more inclined to go along with these sorts of things because it means that they get a pat on the head and a tummy rub or whatever. Like they get a little bit of celebrity off the back of it. I don't know. So I've not read the book, The Devils of Loudun. So I don't know what happens, but the book doesn't end with Grandier dying. There's more book after that.
Right.
So it'd be interesting to know what happens to those nuns.
Yeah, maybe that's a little homework task for us.
Yeah. I mean, what happens in the film in a cutscene after Grandier dies is that what's his name goes to Sister Jeanne and throws like a burnt bit of his femur and she uses it to make herself come.
Which, again, I read about that and I just slowly applauded in an empty room by myself. That's such a strong statement.
The only time that the two of them have physical contact.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Listen. If there's any nuns out there listening who have masturbated with the charred femur of a priest, get in touch and tell your story.
Yeah. I'm sure there are as many of those listening as there are Danny Filths.
And if one is listening, so is the other, guaranteed, because he's got it on in his kitchen. I know I keep going back to it, but I really think the dialogue is the thing that hooked me most in this movie, which is insane because of the visuals. Everybody loves how this movie looks. I'll be totally honest. I respect the craft. I respect the fucking statement pieces. The visuals are like absolutely, inarguably beautiful. I didn't like it. It wasn't my taste. But the dialogue was so up my street. It was unbelievable. There's nothing I love more than like frank, crushing, poetic, medieval misery. And this movie ticked every box I have in that department. Just superb. There's a bit where Grandier says something like, he's talking about something like what he's doing in hell. And he says, walking on a living pavement of aborted bastards. It's too good. It's too good. He just has this way of delivering lines like that maybe wouldn't work from other actors. But when he's being tortured or when he's about to be burnt at the stake, he just says, I dread pain. And he's really honest in the delivery, and it just comes across as so sincere. I mean, for me, that was one of the strongest parts of the movie is the writing and the delivery of those fairly difficult lines that are just made wholly believable by the performances. And believe me, I'm acutely aware that it's insane to not love how this movie looks because I know everybody does.
I think it's so like bombastic and like insane to look at. And that fucking score, it's worth talking about the score as well.
Jesus Christ.
Like, it's so horrible, but it's so perfect.
Exactly. And that's kind of how I feel about the whole movie. It's like insufferably beautiful.
It's like, I mean, we talk about things falling down the stairs quite a lot, but it's like an orchestra and a jazz band falling downstairs simultaneously.
Yeah, and it's all the kind of stuff in jazz that I find that I wish I could tell you I liked, just to be pretentious, but that I don't. I don't like that sound. It's fucking constant in those chaos scenes. It's really brutal, but give it chops. It's woven in such a way that you don't even realize it's happening until you're just about to lose it, and then it stops. I think it's masterful. Yeah,
it's all timed so perfectly, isn't it? Like you say, it's like they know exactly how far to push it, but it never goes too far unless, I don't know, you're the Vatican, in which case you maybe think it went too far ages ago.
But it's weird, right? Because we're a modern audience. We're modern movie viewers. I wouldn't class myself as a particularly fucking smart movie guy, and it is pitched perfectly for me in terms of like what I am able to tolerate. I'm different to a movie viewer in the mid 70s. Do you know what I mean? It just has this like timeless cleverness to it that seems to work on every level for most viewers. It's really clever.
Yeah, well, it's that the dialogue as well is so well written that it really lands when it wants to land, and it's really fucking funny when it wants to be funny.
Yeah,
and like sometimes it's funny because it's so insane what's happening, but sometimes it's funny because it's funny. Like the crocodile in that fucking plague scene is so funny.
It's hysterical. I thought like. Because that's so early in the movie, Oliver Reed like wrestling a crocodile out from a plague-ridden woman who's about to die and hurling it out the window and then fighting a bunch of guardsmen with it. Like, I thought, is he going to be a funny character in this? Is this going to be like is he going to be a foil? What is happening? For that to be your early portrayal of your hero, your guy who is like, delivers one of the most moving monologues in cinema at the end of the movie and is ultimately burnt at the stake for being too fucking rad. That's such a fucking clever thing to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth saying as well that the two best movies of the 70s both end with a guy shouting and then burning to death.
What is the other one, Jamie?
It's The Wicker Man.
Oh, okay, cool. I thought you were going to say, I don't know what I thought you were going to say, but there's a lot of fucking parity here with Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which came out after this. So blatantly an influence on the Silly Boys.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's so funny. How can you be this funny? Why are you allowed to be this funny when you're making a film about burning people at the stake for being witches?
Yeah, it's a lost art, right? Being clever, funny, and artistic. You just don't, you're not allowed to do that anymore. It exists, but there's no money in it.
Like the script, it could be like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. It's like it's that level of like farcical humor.
Yeah.
Oh, but when it lands seriously, it really lands as well. Like all of the monologues that Ollie Reed gives are insane.
Yeah.
It makes you want to go back to when I would do monologues when I was in like college or whatever.
Yeah.
So I could do some of these monologues.
It's fiery. It feels empowering. It's really moving. It's, even though, listen, it takes a lot for me to look up to a priest in a movie, but
Yeah.
you really, really root for the guy. Like, especially like, because he's such a flawed, crooked priest, like everyone's least favorite kind of priest. And, put him in some of these situations in the movie, and I dare you to take your eyes away. Like, he's fucking so magnetic. Yeah, the strength of the performance is unreal. I mean, I think I'm right in saying he said this was his favorite movie performance that he ever gave, right?
I mean, I can't imagine being in this movie and not saying it was the best movie that I was in.
And again, weird because I can't honestly say that I loved the movie. I just have so much respect for the artistry involved in it. Like, it's such a strong piece of cinema. It's fucking undeniable. And the fact that it was so heavily censored and removed from, just sort of like audiences were deprived of being able to experience this movie is fucking criminal. Those are the people that should be banged up for going anywhere near Italy, not the people who made it. That's absurd.
Yeah. People were scared of it because of what it represented.
Yeah.
And like because of what it was trying to say, which is like religion has no business being anywhere near government.
Yeah.
One of the bravest things in the film is that everybody that's in any position of power knows that this is all bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. Immediately drop the pretense as soon as the right people aren't listening.
Yeah, it's like everybody, and even the right people, the king,
Yeah.
the other guy whose name I can't remember, who is sort of very involved in the witch hunt stuff. What's his name? Is it
Mignon?
Labu? No, not Mignon. Mignon is the only one that seems to really believe it until the rape of Christ scene when he, wanks off.
Thing is, you can still believe it and wank.
Yeah. Well, it's Labardomon. He's
Oh, right.
like, he knows that it's all nonsense from the beginning, but he knows that it's going to get him what he wants.
Yeah.
And the king is like, I know this is all bullshit when he sort of turns up in that very shit disguise.
Yeah. It's great. Just a pantomime mask.
Yeah. And he's just like, this is all nonsense, obviously, but I'm the king inside. I don't care.
Yeah, it's when
I'm
they're
gonna-
so brazen as they're like, this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
We are doing this to achieve this. That's the really fun, dastardly side of it. And you're right. Like when I said at the top, it was banned for all the right reasons. Obviously, I mean all the worst reasons possible. Like,
Yeah.
this is saying really valid, astute things about the relationship between religion and government. And fuck me, like if you're censoring that, you are the enemy. Not just of the
Yeah.
Final Transmission podcast, but of humanity. Like that is such scum behavior. It hurts. And you're just, strike me down and I will become more powerful. That's all you're doing is giving this movie an even bigger platform and a brighter spotlight to just be right and to be righteous. And that's your fuck up, friend.
Well, like that is true, but also a lot of people didn't get to see the film. Maybe, I mean, probably a lot of people died before they got to see this film.
Yeah.
And certainly a lot of people died who watched this film when it came out, who then didn't get to see the Rape of Christ scene when that was rediscovered in 2002 or whatever.
Yeah.
They did their job. They got people's eyes away from it. They
Yeah.
got maybe people talking about it because obviously, I mean, it was very controversial, but obviously it was very popular as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it didn't do particularly well on its initial run, but I don't know if you would call it a cult hit, but it's obviously...
It's hard, isn't it? Because it feels like it's been repressed to the extent that it's critically pretty roundly received positively, right? I haven't read anything that says like, nah, it's all pretentious bullshit, it sucks. Most people are on like the 5+ rating at least, and normally it's clocking in around like an 8-9.
Yeah, I think modern critics in the 70s when it first came out were like, this is bunk, mate. This is blasphemous bunk.
Yeah, I guess. There's definitely a part of me that gives credence to the idea that people are a little bit over the top in their praise. Because I didn't love it personally, I can see semi-objectively where people do ladle on the artistic praise where it's maybe not. Well, it's maybe a justification for some, slight weaknesses in some aspects of the movie, but you'd have to be a fucking lunatic to not call this a classic in so many respects. It's...
Yeah.
If you're going to call Street Trash a classic, you got to call The Devil's a classic.
Well, I reckon that the critics that called this shit probably didn't like Street Trash.
Right. I mean, yeah. It's really hard to kind of take this movie and just have like a simple opinion of it, I think, because it is such a
Yeah.
complex, layered, bizarre, funny, frightening, politically, important movie. So it is hard to kind of boil down, but more than anything, I love medieval horror, and I would class this as medieval horror. I think it takes all the things that are scariest about that period of time, turns it into like an art piece, exploring that in depth and detail with really compelling characters and great performances. And that maketh a fucking good time. It's a hard watch. Like you said, it incorporates all these themes that we love: witchcraft, heresy, witch hunting, these like medieval stake burning and torture and all these things that really fucking, get us going as movie viewers. But it's not pleasant, is it? It's not the fun side of
No.
of that stuff.
No, it's not Vincent Price as Matthew Hopkins like prancing about in tights. It's like it's serious to the point where it's not really serious anymore. It's like it goes beyond serious.
That's what I mean, right? It's like a seriousness trap. It's like
Yeah.
quicksand of seriousness that pops you out in the circus. It's terrifyingly bizarre and like deceptively fun. I don't know.
One of the headlines from around the time when this film first came out,
Yeah.
there were loads of headlines that were like, this is sick, ban it, or whatever. But here's my favorite headline from around that time, which is a film that even offends the men.
Holy shit. Which brings in a pretty straight parallel to Barbie.
Sure.
Maybe
They're the same
Barbie
movie.
is this generation's Barbie is the Zoomers' Devils.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't offend me. I would find it really hard to be offended by a movie of this type. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I can be offended really, but it's
especially one so silly. Like
Yeah.
it knows it's being silly. It's being silly on purpose as a way to bring you into the horrible things that are happening and are gonna happen. But like it's all told with like quite a strong sense of fun that you can't argue with it. That's probably the main issue, is that people are like, I'm having too much fun watching these nuns wank.
Yeah, and some people just can't handle that.
So Ken Russell called it his only political film.
Yeah, I read that.
Obviously, it is very political, and it still, to this day, feels fresh in terms of that message. We're still in a world where fucking sinister hand of Jesus Christ is trying to steal our rights. Not our rights, obviously. We've got penises, but, the rights of our contemporaries.
Jesus. Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. It feels relevant, for those exact same reasons. When are we ever going to live in a world where religion isn't fucking everything up? Or, where like people practicing religion in obnoxious ways aren't fucking everything up.
Yeah, you only have to look at the current American right wing, and obviously what happened with Roe v. Wade and what they're trying to make happen with gay marriage and all of that stuff. It's insane.
Yeah, and it's just another example of the wrong shit being censored. Like, I'm anti-censorship across the board, but don't take this away from people. Have this on a shelf and people can choose to watch it if they want to or not. And you can choose to be offended if you want to or not. I would almost go as far, if I was, if I had a couple of beers, I would argue that this is not offensive to anyone. I would fight that corner. I think I think people are offended by things that are clever. And I think people react defensively when they feel outwitted by a piece of art. And that is not the same as making an offensive movie. I think the problem is the viewer.
Yeah.
And fuck them. I don't have any time for it.
I completely agree. Obviously, the offense, like we said, is I am being lampooned here. My beliefs that, everything should be homogenized and the same under the umbrella of Christianity is the thing that's being lampooned here. I mean, I also think there's a reading about like how we hold up our idols to impossible standards. I mean, literally, it's not subtle. Sister Jan sees Grandier as like a Christ figure in her dreams.
Yeah, amazing. The crucifixion scenes in her dreams are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
And then when they let us down, when they do something to upset us, in Grandier's case, he marries someone that he ostensibly loves, as far as we know. So obviously, that's the inciting incident for everything, is that she's so scorned by that. But yeah, like how people sort of hold up these idols and how they hold people to impossible standards that they can never hope to attain. Obviously, we know that Grandier is forever not attaining those standards, but as far as anyone else is concerned, he is until
Yeah.
he isn't.
Until he is a charred femur being rammed in and out of a nun's vagina.
Yeah, it'll happen to all of us eventually, Sam.
Fucking I hope. The you picked the perfect word there. It is a lampoon. This isn't like a meticulously crafted, scathing piece of like Christopher Hitchens' essay writing against religion. This is kind of poking fun almost in the most like grand, verbose way possible, sure. But it's not. I mean, it is scathing, but it's doing it in a way that I think offends because people feel ridiculed, and that's fine. Get over yourself.
They are, enjoying it too much because it's fucking fun.
Yeah, I think if you can't watch a movie that takes the piss out of you, you need to have a bloody long chat with yourself. Like, guys who are offended by the Barbie movie, like, I think the Barbie movie hurt a lot of men. Like, it really hurt them. And I found myself feeling quite uncomfortable while I was watching it. I wasn't offended. I was just acutely aware of how much I suck. And that's really fucking important. What is art supposed to do if it's not holding up a lens to our existence and our experience of the world and making it more acute in some way for a brief period of time? Barbie and the Devils do the same job really well.
Completely agree on all counts. Shall we take a little breaky brew and come back to give our Summer P final thoughts?
Fuck yeah.
Will you give it up, man? Nobody's out there. We're alone. Oh no, there's somebody out there. I'm picking up all this crosstalk.
Right, we're back, Sam.
Here we are.
Why don't you give me your final thoughts, rundown, and score for 1971's The Devils?
It's great. I got to give it two separate ratings. One for my enjoyment of the movie. I'll give it 3 crushed trumpets out of 10 because I found it fucking hard work. But in terms of like a more objective review of the movie, I'm giving it 9 sopping wet charred femurs out of 10. There's just not much you can fuck with. Like the performances, the writing, the message, the artistry in the presentation of this movie, the visuals, everything about it, you'd be really hard pressed. You'd be picking nits to start stripping away value in this film. So yeah, a really fucking accomplished piece of horrific cinema, and a hard recommend for anyone who cares about the themes we've discussed and anyone who wants to see 2 artists at the absolute peak of their performance career just nailing it front to back for the duration. Yeah, not fun, but fucking good.
I think it is fun.
I knew you would say that.
I mean, it's fun when it wants to be fun, and it is not fun when it doesn't want to be fun. When it wants to be like, you were just having fun.
Yeah, it's in control of that for sure.
Yeah, it like literally turns to you. Not literally, but it turns to you at one point. And it's like, you were having fun 5 minutes ago, and look at you now.
Now look at you. Now you're crying. I feel like if Oliver Reed turned to the camera and said that directly to the audience, it would still be fine. Like he kind of basically fucking does. But that again, that's a filmmaker in total control of his material, and I have nothing but respect for that. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, like we said at the jump, this is one of my all-time favorites. Might be the back end of my top 5. Like it's basically a perfect movie to me. The only thing that makes it imperfect is the scenes that have been cut. The fact that they aren't there to see it in its full glory. Obviously, there was a lot of stuff shot that didn't make it into the film, but those 2 scenes specifically were meant to be in the film, and they were removed at the behest of the BBFC. The American cut of this is even shorter, I think. There's a couple of other things that are missing. More of the church and state stuff, really. Mm-hmm. More of Grandier's proselytizing at the end, where he's like, you're all fuckheads or whatever. I don't think he says that. But that's some of the stuff that's been cut out of the American version, probably because America are one of the most sort of guilty parties for church and state skullduggery, tomfuckery.
Definitely some of the most like hypocritical, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking while a lot of that final scene was unfolding, in what countries are they cutting this burning at the stake short? Because it's really long and there's a lot of really important dialogue in it, which you don't normally get in a burning at the stake scene. So,
No.
what do you do when there's essentially something really graphically violent happening that also contains loads of great dialogue? And I was just thinking, oh my God, I bet so many audiences don't get to see the full version of this burn.
Yeah, and that's the case, and it's a real tragedy because it's amazing. I mean, if you are in America, and you want to watch this, try and find the full cut because you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, wherever you are, try and get the most complete version of this. I mean, the full
Yeah.
cut's got to be like closer to 2 hours, right?
Yeah. Well, I think there's no version where the rape of Christ and the charred femur scene at the end
Hmm.
is back in. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't exist in a commercial setting, at least.
Hmm.
The longest version that's out there at the moment is, I think, the DVD that we both have, which is about 1 hour 51. With those scenes cut back in, maybe cut back how they're meant to be, probably maybe would run 1 hour 55, so 56.
Yeah, and it's hard to imagine what the conscience of somebody who cuts that stuff out of the film looks like. Not cool.
Yeah, well, I heard in this documentary that I watched a few years ago that Ken Russell and whoever was head of the BBFC at the time had a fairly cordial relationship because obviously they had crossed paths a number of times before this. And so before they put it through to the BBFC, Ken Russell showed him a cut of it and was like, "What do you reckon?"
Mm.
And he was like, "This stuff's got to go."
Oof.
And Ken Russell was like, "Go fuck yourself." And then he submitted it to the censors,
Legend.
and they were like, "This shit's got to go."
It's the movie to me is quite standalone. It's kind of incomparable. Like I see its influence in so much other stuff, and I see a bunch of like Suspiria. I feel like I'm watching a Terry Gilliam movie at times. There's a bit of a fucking Baz Luhrmann thing going on at one point, and all of that's great. So, this has to be like a real little touch paper for a bunch of other great stuff, and it draws on such a rich, quintessentially like British take on, the medieval period, and just ramps up the art school bullshit. It's great. Yeah.
The Gilliam thing there is something that I had not really ever considered, but obviously it's really clear now you say it. I think obviously you mentioned the pythons earlier, but like the aesthetic is very similar. The sort of sublime and ridiculous jutting up against each other is, peak pythons, but also like that's Ken Russell's bread and butter.
Yeah.
So yeah, and even like the subject matter that Terry Gilliam works with, like imagine Ken Russell's fucking Don Quixote.
Yeah.
Like that would be wonderful.
It'd be pretty fucking great. I mean, imagine Baz Luhrmann's The Devils. Not so good.
Baz Luhrmann is a director that's got lost in his own style.
Yeah.
Like I really liked Romeo and Juliet. I liked Strictly Ballroom, which came out before that. These really sort of intense stylistic films.
Yeah.
But like Australia and
Oof.
I mean Moulin Rouge or whatever, but like it's fine. I think it's watchable, but it sort of loves the smell of its own farts a bit too much.
Yeah, dude. He did the Elvis movie, right?
Yeah.
That was fucking bad.
I really liked it.
Oh, really? I watched it on a plane, so maybe that tainted my experience a little bit, but fucking Jesus. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I thought like the idea of Elvis movie is like he's a superhero. I really dug that.
Yeah. I think I would maybe need to be in a different mood to enjoy that movie.
I think for me it was like a Saturday night. It was like we had a nice takeaway tea. We sat down, it just come on to Sky or whatever, and we were like, boom, yeah, Elvis.
It might be like one of the only Hanks performances that I think just outright fucking sucks. I can't stand that performance.
I rate it.
Dude, if I went to fucking Haverhill Arts Centre and saw someone in an Amdram performance pulling that shit, I would be like, boo! Shit's
Uh,
bad. Remove the fact that it's Tom Hanks and we literally worship every single tiny little thing that he ever does. Fucking terrible accent work, bad makeup,
yeah,
comically shit visual like presentation of the character, awful dialogue, and just no fucking butter in the sandwich. Just not very good.
yeah. It's sad that we'll never get to see that Paul Giamatti performance as Colonel Tom in Bob and Nosferatu.
Fuck, dude. Put Giamatti in there.
Put Giamatti everywhere.
I know. Rub him all
Spread
over
it,
everything.
spread it on your toast like Marmite.
Damn right. But what's your rating? You didn't give us a rating.
10 crocodiles out the window out of 10. 15,
Brilliant.
15 little glasses on the nipples with hornets in them out of 16. Like it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
feverish. I've said feverish 400 times in this podcast, but like there are no other words. It's like it's an assault, in the best possible way. And
Would you consider getting the femur tattooed on your body?
yeah,
Good. Just checking.
it's already ticking over.
It's a good tattoo.
I mean, I think I would love to get a devil's tattoo.
I think you should. I think the most like memorable visual for me is the femur, but a close second is the trial with all the white hoods and the red crosses. That and Oliver Reed with a bald head and shaved face. Just like all of that is so burned into my, movie psyche forever, I think. But dude, that fucking femur.
I think like we didn't talk about Grandier's look in this as well. I think what a luscious fucking mustache.
Perfect.
In the weeks after we've just watched Crimson Altar with that pathetic little fucking glued on eyebrow situation.
It's
Like-
so perfect.
Oh, it's so good. He looks good in this.
He's
In a
just,
sort of-
yeah.
He's sort of a bit flabby and a bit, stout or whatever, but like he just embodies a man that looks 10 feet tall.
I think he looks really strong, and that's a huge
Yeah.
part of it. You don't expect your smooth talking priest to be particularly robust. I think sometimes the trope is at the other end of that spectrum, but he's so well put together in terms of how they've made him look in this film. Like his costume's perfect, his hair, his makeup, his moustache, his movement, just everything right up until the second he is a charred femur in a nun's vagina is perfect.
Yeah, it's worth also saying that in the burning scene, it gets really, really graphic.
Big time. Like blackened flesh, bulging eyes graphic.
Yeah, like buboes all over his face type stuff.
Shooting through the flames, POV at both sides, really quite painful to watch.
Obviously, at that point, we're also miles away from bits that are meant to be funny, but they still drop some humor in that bit.
They've still got some fucking funny lines.
Like, there's the guy that's meant to strangle him. He's like, I was going to strangle him. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a I don't want to say it's a trope. Maybe it is to me because I just fucking seek this shit out. But like executioner mistakes and the relationship between executor and executed, it's something I fucking absolutely love in fiction. I was just devouring every second of that. And there's a bit where I can't remember who says it, but somebody says, it's not every day baby sees daddy burn to death and holds up a baby to watch the burning. That's funny as shit. And it's right in the middle of the harshest part of the movie. So still kicking you squarely in the urethra right up until the very end.
Yeah. It's, like you say, it's so controlled. It's so careful.
Yeah.
It's just, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
They don't make them like this anymore, Sam.
They really don't. And that seems like such a throwaway comment, but it's so fucking painfully true. They just don't.
No. What was the last film that you would consider truly blasphemous?
I haven't reached my blasphemy threshold. I just don't. I'm so removed from what offends people about blasphemy that I lack an objective barometer. I just don't. Fuck me, dude. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of like films that were
Constantine?
vaguely... Yeah, wasn't there was one with Aubrey Plaza and some of the gals as like nuns that like to fuck.
I like that too much to find it even remotely I
Yeah,
mean, it
well,
is objectively blasphemous. It's the definition of blasphemy, right? But
yeah. Like, I don't mean that like that we consider blasphemous, that the world considers blasphemous.
well, people are idiots, right? People thought Dogma was blasphemous. Like Dogma suffered some censorship bullshit, and it's I mean, whatever. Like, blasphemy.
Did you see First Reformed?
No.
There's a Paul Schrader movie with I think it's Ethan Hawke.
Right.
That's pretty good. I would recommend that.
Life of Brian.
Yeah.
The Exorcist. These are all fairly run-of-the-mill, though. I don't have deep-cut references for this, to be honest. I think the most blasphemous thing I've ever seen is what I saw at that Cradle of Filth show. That was phenomenal. And in the flesh, which made it feel 1,000 times better.
Yeah. Stuart Lee's stage production of Jerry Springer the Opera.
Right.
That was shut down. So that was, I don't know if you've seen that. It's like the first half of it is a typical episode of Jerry Springer, but it's an opera.
Yeah.
And then at the halfway point, Jerry Springer gets shot and goes to hell. And then is forced to mediate between the problems of Jesus and the devil, Mary and Joseph, because they are, when you boil them down, like the virgin pregnancy and stuff like that is Jerry Springer stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So the characters in the second half are all played by the same actors who are in the first half.
Right.
And one of the characters in the first half, who ultimately ends up being Jesus or playing the same role as Jesus, is a guy that's like a giant baby that likes to shit himself.
Right.
So the religious nuts didn't love that.
They did not love that. I mean, Book of Mormon, it's not blasphemous against Christianity, but it's, I don't know, man. I think this is probably the most blasphemous movie I've ever seen.
I think there's much more, I don't know, is it blasphemous because it's good? Or is it like,
is it good because it's blasphemous?
Well, yeah, but like, would you consider, I don't know, some 70s Italian nunsploitation that's literally just like nuns getting raped by Nazis or whatever? Like, would you consider that more or less blasphemous than this? Because this is actually good and has something to say, and that's just like, haha, nun vagina.
Yeah, it's like different degrees of blasphemy, right? I think if your blasphemy is backed with mind and brain, if it's critical thinking blasphemy that shines a light on, the hypocrisy and the sort of exploitative nature of religion, then that's a kind of blasphemy that I find more entertaining, I guess. Sounds like a weird thing to say, than, your sort of basic, everything you just mentioned. I don't think it elevates the blasphemy, but it elevates the material, which makes the blasphemy more enjoyable.
Yep. Does it maybe make the blasphemy more blasphemous because somebody's thought about it? It's not just like, I'm here trying to get my cheap rocks off with your nun knickers.
Yeah.
Like, I've thought about this and I've decided that your religion has no fucking place in government. Now fuck off. Also, here are some nuns wanking.
Yeah, because it's more of an attack. It's a lampoon with teeth. I think it makes it more effective. Like, it utilizes blasphemy for a purpose. It's not just exploitative or pornographic. When it is pornographic, it's for a reason, and that is ultimately what makes it so effective, I think. Yeah, I think it is good because it's blasphemous, and it's blasphemous because it's good.
Well, on that note, Sam, why don't you tell the good people how they can support the old Final Transmission boys?
First of all, if you're not following us on social media, you must be new here. Go do that now, and then bring Daddy back change. And then I want to see you write a review and hit that 5-star button, because we've earned it. We know how good we are. Now we need you to tell us. That's how this works. Then I need you to tell all your friends about the podcast, okay? Go do that. Come back. Tell me how it went. Show me the bruises. And then I want you to join the Patreon. I know you can afford it. Don't fucking pretend you can't. Join the Patreon. Beyond that, your life is yours to live. Enjoy Final Transmission. Jamie, what else can the good people do?
I think they can do that. Don't forget to tell Uncle Larry. Don't forget to, Sam said follow us on social media. It's FT Horror Show. We've mentioned it a couple of times, but there is some good shit coming up on the Patreon. We're going to get real fucking festive, right up your butts. Like, it's going to be a good time.
I'm going to get drunk and get festive.
Are we gonna have some beers on the some festive?
I'm
festive
in control
boozes?
of what I do, and I'm going to drink a big old fucking jug of wine.
Maybe I'll go grab a bottle of whiskey.
Ooh, there's an idea. Oh, fuck me, maybe I'll have whiskey. God damn, I was so sure I was going to have wine, and now I might have whiskey.
There's only one way to find out what we drink on this Patreon episode.
That's to give us money. Thank you for listening to Final Transmission. I had a blast talking about the Devils. Jamie, thank you for spending some time with me, flapping them gums.
Yeah, good fun, good times. Merry dead priest to you.
And the same to you.